Canto 18. Summary. After Cacciaguida explains the dark and ominous words the pilgrim has heard along his journey concerning his coming exile, Dante finds great comfort and compassion in the eyes and face of Beatrice, who is reflecting the light and love of God. Cacciaguida finishes his time with his descendant by revealing who else is with him in this sphere: Joshua, Judas Maccabeus, Charlemagne, and Orlando, as well as other famous warriors from legend and history. Cacciaguida then ascends and takes his place in the choir. Leaving the red glow of Mars like a blush from the cheek of a fair lady, Dante and Beatrice rise to the sixth heaven, the sphere of Jupiter. As they arrive, the souls descending to meet them take the form of 35 letters in succession: Diligite justitiam qui judicatis terram, which is Latin for "Love justice, all you who judge the earth." The souls of kings who judge the nations with righteousness meet Dante here in this sixth realm. After all 35 letters have flashed before the pilgrim's eye, the final M remains and morphs first into a fleur de lis, the lily, representing the French monarchy, and then the imperial eagle, representing the Holy Roman Empire. The poet ends the canto with a brief invective against the Pope, likely Pope John XXII, who has forgotten Peter and Paul and his duty to lead his flock to Christ. Instead, he has turned from righteousness and makes war on fellow Christians through a wicked use of excommunication, withholding the bread. Furthermore, he is only interested in John the Baptist, who willed to live alone, or rather, the gold florin that bore his image. Canto 18. Mars and Jupiter. That blessed mirror was still rejoicing in his own words while I was tasting mine and tempering the bitter with the sweet, when that lady leading me to God said, "Change your thoughts. Think that I am near to him who lightens the load of all injustice." I turned myself round to the loving sound of my comfort, and what love I then saw in her eyes, I must here leave abandoned. Not just because I distrust my own words, but because the mind cannot relate things so high if another does not guide it. This much can I relate of that moment, that, gazing upon her, my affection was set free from every other desire, so long as the everlasting delight, shining on Beatrice, contented me with his reflection in her lovely face. Conquering me with the light of her smile, she said to me, "Turn around and listen. Not only in my eyes is paradise." As sometimes here below one can behold affection in another's face, so great that all the soul is taken up with it, so, through the flaming of the holy flash to whom I turned, I knew that his desire was to hold some further discourse with me. He began, "In this fifth tier of the tree, the life of which from the summit flows down, which always fruits and never loses leaves, spirits are blessed who, before they were raised from earth to heaven, were of such great fame that every muse would be made rich by them. Therefore look upon the horns of the cross. He who I will name will there move just like the swift fire darting from within the cloud." I saw then a light drawn along the cross at the name of Joshua in the act, nor did I note the word before the fact. And at the name of the great Maccabee I saw another move, wheeling around, and joy it was that whipped the spinning top. So too for Charlemagne and Orlando, my attentive gaze followed the two lights, as a man's eye follows his flying falcon. Thereafter William and Rinaldo drew my sight along that cross with the Duke of Godfrey, as well as Robert Guiscard. And then, moving and mixing in amongst the other lights, the soul who was speaking showed himself a singer in heaven's choir. I turned round to my right to discover in Beatrice what I ought to do, shown either by her words or her attitude. And I saw her eyes so pure, so cheerful, that her appearance now was outshining all former custom and the most recent. And as a man, in feeling more delight in doing well, notices day by day that his own virtue is making progress, so too I noticed that my wheeling round, as well as the heaven, widened its arc, seeing this miracle so much more adorned. And just like the change in a fair lady, when her face, in a short amount of time, relieves itself of the burden of shame. So it was to my eyes after I turned, due to the whiteness of that mild sixth star, which had gathered me up into itself. I beheld in that jovial splendor the shimmering of the love that was there, indicating our own speech to my eyes. And as birds rise from the banks of a stream, as though together rejoicing in food, forming now a round, now another rank, so within the lights the holy creatures flying sang and fashioned out of their figure, now a D, now an I, and now an L. First they sang and moved to their own music, and then becoming one of these markings they rested a little and grew silent. O divine Pegasian, you who make genius glorious and grant it long life, as by your help it does to towns and realms, cause me to so shine with yourself that I set forth their shape as I have conceived them. Let your power appear in these scant lines. They then showed themselves in 5 times 7 vowels and consonants, and I noted the parts as they appeared to me in speech. Diligite justitiam was first, the verb and noun of what was depicted. Qui judicatis terram then was last. Afterwards, on the M of the 5th word, they remained, ordered, such that Jove appeared silver in that place, distinguished with gold. I saw other lights descend on the peak of the M, and still themselves by singing, I think, the good who moves them to himself. Then, as at the striking of a burnt log, a countless number of sparks fly upward, with which fools used to practice augury. More than 1,000 lights seem to rise up from that place and climb, some more and some less, as the sun who kindles them sorted them. And each one being quieted in his place, I saw the head and neck of an eagle represented by that distinguished fire. He who paints there is guided by no one, but he guides, and we recall that from him comes virtue, that is the form for the nests. The other blessed ones, who seemed content before to form the lily on the M, followed the imprint with little motion. O sweet star, how great, and how many gems demonstrated to me that our justice is the fruit of the heaven you and gem. Wherefore I beg the mind in whom begins your motion and virtue, that you once more see whence leaves the smoke that pollutes your ray, such that one more time you become angry at the buying and selling in the temple that is walled up with wonders and martyrs. O army of heaven, whom I regard, pray for those who are on the earth, each one led astray behind a bad example. Before now one used to make war with swords, but now one wars with holding, here and there, the bread the selfless Father bars from none. But you who only compose to cancel, consider that Peter and Paul, who died for the vineyard you bring to ruin, live. Well can you say, I have so fixed desire on him who willed to live alone, and who with a dance was drawn to his martyrdom. I know neither the fisherman nor Paul.